the two, two culture at the same time.
Now, we've talked about this on the
Hello and welcome to The Ordinary Show. I'm your host, Cheryl Brown, and before we get started, a lot of times the show ends before we're able to give you the information for contact, so I want to give that to you now. If you have a comment or a question, you can feel free to write to theordinaryshow@mail.com, and now you're able to view the show's episodes 24 hours a day, 24/7 worldwide, if you just go to myordinaryshow.com. That's myordinaryshow.com. So today we're going to talk about something a little serious, and I was able to catch up with my friend, a very dear friend, Eva Kassell, who's talked to me a little bit about Nepal because she was just there less than a month ago before the devastating earthquake. So I was able to sit down with her and talk to her about her experience when she visited and the program that she's running. And I was able to talk to her about before and after the earthquake, and she gave me some information about people that she knew when she visited there unharmed. But at last report we had 1,800, but today that number is as high as 7,000. So I'm going to run that interview right now and listen to what my friend has to say about Nepal. Hello and welcome to The Ordinary Show. We're here in the lovely home of my friend Eva Kassell, and she's going to talk a little bit with us about Nepal and her affiliations and close associations with people in Nepal. Welcome to The Ordinary Show. A lot is going on in the papers, and even from the New York Times, where the initial announcement says the toll is above 1,800. Of course, we know that it's way far above that. What is the toll now of lives lost in this horrendous earthquake in Nepal?
I believe at this time it's up to at least 5,000. I have, because of my own work, I've had very little time to follow the general news. I feel as though I've been fighting a war this past week.
And I see that you have your computer close at hand because you have a son that's there, or lives close there, that's updating you moment to moment as to the status of some of your friends and associates, because you have a work there. Can you tell us about the work that you do?
So about 15 years ago, my son was in Nepal on a college year abroad program, and he made friends with a young woman there. Her name is Vishnu Parya, and she is from the so-called Dalit community. In Nepal, they have the caste system where people are locked into this very rigid hierarchy of caste and class, and very little way of getting out and moving up this social ladder. So I made a connection with her, and it turned out that she had started some work to try to help her own people. I invited her over to the United States to try to help her with more education, and we have been working together for a long time to try to build upon the ideas that she originally had about helping especially women from her caste and likewise other poor and marginalized women. So basically the work we have been doing is forming women's groups who learn how to save together. They create a little autonomous savings group, and from that savings fund they can take loans when they need them, and they pay in regularly. In addition to the savings and loan activities, they also learn about human rights and about how to take action. So they can claim their rights, and their rights are often being violated. In addition, there's a lot of discrimination against women in general. So Dalit women are really at the very bottom of society, and therefore they have the worst social indicators for everything: education, political influence, health, longevity, pretty much everything.
Is your son still there? He's still...
My son is back in Nepal now as an aid worker. He works for a subsidiary of USAID, and his field is communication. His project, he's been there for a number of years, excuse me, but his work has been obviously redirected. It was a public health project he was working on, and they are now sending people from his office out to the damaged villages to report and to try to help organize relief. Let me just check what he just sent me.
Okay.
No.
Was there any personal associates that were lost in the quake that you
No.
were a part of your organization?
No, we don't. I don't have any close friends who lost their lives, and it's interesting that aside from the epicenter itself, in the surrounding villages there, even though the houses were flattened, in some of the communities we are working with, 80 to 100% of the houses were destroyed. But even so, there was relatively, as far as we know, little loss of life, because people were able to run out. They have very small houses and lots of open space. So from this one village where I'm constantly in touch with people, they told me that there was no loss of life. Even animals were not killed.
And so the major loss of lives seems to have taken place in Kathmandu, the 5,000 lives that were lost.
No, not necessarily.
Because this was a huge quake, 7.8 on the Richter scale. Even the aftershocks were 6.6.
Yeah, and they keep coming. I got a report, there was one just this morning.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but
yeah, and it says it reached as far as Mount Everest. So this is huge. So the 5,000 you were saying were lost in what area?
Well, that is, I think, what people are saying now, but there will be many, many more. It's been very difficult for rescue workers, relief workers, to get to the villages that were right in the epicenter, and they suspect that the death toll will climb or double once they get a count. But as I said, I'm not all that well informed about what is going on, but I'm very well informed about what's going on in some of the communities where we are working.
And you were just there.
I was
about
just
a
there.
month ago. Okay. Tell us about your visit. You went about a month ago. Where did you visit specifically?
I went to 4 different villages,
Okay.
and I went there to interview several of our women's groups. I got to talk to 14 women's groups altogether in the Gorkha region, we have groups with 750 women altogether. We have 35 groups there. We have groups in other districts too, but most of our work is in Gorkha district. When I think back a month ago, it's simply devastating for me because I have happy memories. I have beautiful pictures. The villages are beautiful. People were happy. They reported so much progress from the work and so much success in their women's groups. I came home feeling very encouraged, and now they have to start over and rebuild their lives. Yeah.
So while we have the moment, let's tell our friends how they can help. How do you feel like efforts can be best concentrated? Because a lot of times we hear about travesties or disasters in other areas, and money is sent, and sometimes the money is not expedited as some say it should be. So how do you think best efforts can be distributed to Nepal, or what area?
So a small organization like us, it is limited what kind of emergency relief we can organize, although our people are doing their very best to get supplies to some of the communities, and they've been successful so far. It's a matter of coordination and communication, etc. But in the long term, we are focusing on raising money for rebuilding, and there will be a lot of rebuilding that will need to take place. So we have a fundraiser going right now, a rebuilding fund for women in Gorkha. And of course, it's not just the women who will benefit, but what distinguishes us maybe from other aid organizations is that we will provide the monetary assistance through the women's groups, so that the people, the grassroots, the
Yes.
people who are the neediest and the poorest will together decide where the money is going to go.
Oh, excellent.
So in fact, our women's groups, many of them have already, we've seen much evidence of this, have functioned as little local welfare societies. So when there's a particular needy person, they will reach out to this person and try to help as best they can. And so we have a lot of evidence that they are really looking out for each other and for the neediest in their communities. So there have been many stories in the past of aid is usually being delivered through the established power structure. There are agencies and elected officials who are then supposed to distribute it. But that is a top-down approach.
Exactly.
And there are many instances of where this aid has been diverted, not to the people who really need it, but to friends and families of these people.
Exactly.
And invariably, these agencies and local authorities are dominated by men and by men of the higher caste and landowners, bigger landowners. So we like to promote our approach, which is to give through the grassroots instead of the top-down approach. And we have a website.
Oh, yes, maybe you can share the website.
edwon.org, edwon.org, and there's a relief page there that describes our approach and what we're trying to do. We have been in the area for 15 years. We have really close ties to the grassroots, and the people who are carrying out the work are themselves Dalit. They are themselves from these villages, and they understand the need. So we are not imposing anything on them and telling them what to do.
Yes.
The ideas, the programs, everything comes from the people who will be the beneficiaries.
So that website is E as in Edward, D as in David, WON as in Nancy, .org.
Yeah, that's correct.
As one,
Yeah.
.org. Okay. Well, hopefully people will visit that website and find out
Yeah.
as to how they can help.
Yeah.
So will you be returning? Because when there were the earthquakes in Haiti, a lot of people sent money, not only sent money, but they went there.
Yeah.
To the point where people were advising not to travel there because,
Yeah.
of course, the hotels were damaged and the infrastructure was damaged. Would you advise traveling there to give hands-on assistance or financial assistance only at this time?
I would not advise people to travel there because in order to help as a volunteer, there has to be an organization behind it. And as it is now, I understand that people are kind of bumping into each other. And frankly, I think people coming from here who are not familiar with the culture will kind of be a hindrance. However, we can help without dollars, and so that's why I strongly recommend that people help financially, send a donation, even if that is not quite as satisfying at some level. But that is what really will help people.
Yes, and they will be able to at the ed1.org.
Yeah, there's a link.
Website.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to hope. As we go to the next segment of this interview, we're going to take a moment to go to the next segment. But I would like for everyone to visit the website ed1.org. That's edwon.org. Just as Eva suggested, the death toll is rising. Now, we just did this interview a few days ago, and at the time it was 5,000, and today I believe it's 7,000 or higher. But Nepal needs your help right now. So we're going to pull up the next segment of this interview, but I encourage you to visit the website ed1.org. Thank you. We're back. And we just want to cover a couple of points before we end our program, some important ones that Eva wants to discuss. One is about the actual day that the earthquake fell on and the importance of the significance of the day. Also, Dalit, the caste of Nepal, the Nepal region, and how aid that's being sent, how it's being distributed, and 4 reasons why you should actually give. So I'm going to give way to Eva to talk about Saturday.
Yeah, so I wanna tell people why we are different, what distinguishes us from other small relief efforts. And the first big reason, of course, is that we have an established infrastructure. We have worked with women and families and children in the Gorkha region, which is the epicenter of the disaster, and that's where the damage is the
Hardest hit.
Yeah. And the second point I would like to make is that our focus is on Dalit women, on these low caste, so-called low caste women, who even under the best of circumstances are discriminated against. As I mentioned before, they have the lowest social indicators.
And even the aid that's coming in, they're not, your son just sent you a message, an update.
Yes, my son was just in another community, not one of ours, and I did not ask him about the situation for Dalits. One of his first remarks was, it's clear that the Dalits are last on everyone's list and that aid is not being distributed in a just and fair way. It does not go to the neediest. Dalits and women especially are not used to speaking up. They have no advocates. They have no organization in most places, and they end up getting the short end of the stick, as in everything else that happens in society. So our focus is Dalit women, and the aid will go through the women, and that is another reason that our approach is effective. We are doing two things at once. We are not just giving them assistance in terms of money to rebuild their houses, but by doing that, by giving the women the money to administer, the women will also gain in status and in influence and in power in the community. Because now people have to come to them for assistance. That we are turning the tables by giving the power and the money to the women. The Dalits. And we all know, and to Dalits, yeah, and we all know that it's the women that makes things happen.
Exactly.
The women are key to development. They will benefit their families, their children. They will put money to their kids' education, to better nutrition. Very often, not always, but often, men are more focused on status, on gambling and drinking, on having fun with their friends, while the women are taking care of their families.
And so we have it.
Yeah.
But why was it significant? You were saying that it was good at the earthquake came on Saturday. You were saying something
Yes,
about
so many people have noted that it was incredibly lucky that the earthquake had happened on a Saturday, because that is the Sabbath, that's the day people are not working. So children were not in school, people were not at work, and they figure it saved many, many, many thousands of lives.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we talked about the reasons why, I have a note here. Most damage was done in Florida. So we just want to encourage everyone to visit the website. Again, what's the website?
It's www.edwon.org.
Excellent. And that'll tell you about what's happening in the region right now.
We are trying to keep up with the news
as best you can.
but it explains how we are approaching aid and our approach and our philosophy behind what we are doing.
And people will be actually able to give
On the website, yes.
Excuse me. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm so happy that I've been enlightened, and I'm sure our audience has been as well. And we'll check back with you because you plan to visit the region again once down the road.
Yeah.
And perhaps you can give us another update then. Thank you so much.
And I want to thank you. Oh, thank you so much for
Thank you.
focus on this work. I
No
appreciate
problem.
it.
And that is the end. If you have questions, write to theordinaryshow@mail.com. And we'll see you next time. And that was our interview with Eva Kassell. Again, I'd like to encourage you to visit the website. I'm going to try to pull it up. I do miss my production assistant, so I'm working the boards myself. I'll try to pull up the website and see some of the pictures. When I was visiting with Eva, she showed me pictures of some of the devastation in Nepal, and I just wanted to show a few of the pictures. But if you have questions regarding the show, feel free to write to us at theordinaryshow@mail.com. That's theordinaryshow@mail.com. And I'm going to try to pull this up. And also, you're able to watch The Ordinary Show 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you simply go on the web to myordinaryshow.com. Let's see, bear with me. I'm working the boards myself. Okay. Here's a few pictures. And I believe these are some of the pictures of the Dalit community. But most importantly, of course, we see this donate button here. Please, I encourage you to visit this website, ed1.org, and give to this tragic, tragic situation. And it would be most appreciated. And of course, your prayers are always welcome. Prayers are always needed. So again, visit the website, edwon.org, to give to the efforts in Nepal, especially to the Dalit community, according to our friend Eva Kassell. And that about wraps it up for the show today. Write to us. I'd love to hear from you. And if you know of someone ordinary that's doing something extraordinary, write to The Ordinary Show at mail.com. And take a look at some of the past episodes at myordinaryshow.com. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for being with us.